Hi, and welcome back to COM 1160. This is week 4, video number 1. And in this video, we're going to start talking about APA a little bit more. I did want to bring you through, though, what we're going to be doing for the week. And this week, we're going to talk about how to use research information when you're writing, the different methods that you can use. We're then going to talk about how to credit research information when you're writing. These are the APA in-text citations that you'll be using. I'll be introducing your APA assignment number 2 and giving you some instructions for it. And we're also going to discuss a future research project. So quite a bit on the agenda for this week. We've now looked at how to find research information. So we've looked at how to find books, how to find medical articles, how to find all sorts of information. It's time now to talk about how we're going to use this information when we're writing. And when we're writing and we're using information that we've learned from research materials, we're going to have two choices for how we use that information. We're either going to direct quote the material or we're going to paraphrase it. And I'll talk about the difference between those two things in a moment. If you will, please pause the video and open up the Getting Started with APA handout. That's available in PDF format. I'm just going to open it up on our screen. But I wanted to talk about the difference between paraphrasing and direct quoting. So take a moment, pull that file, and then come back to the video. Okay, so now I'm going to assume that you have that handout in front of you. And we're going to talk about paraphrasing and direct quoting and opinion. Whenever you're writing, excuse me, you're going to be doing one of these three things. You're either going to be paraphrasing information, direct quoting information, or providing an opinion. It's important that we define the difference between these three because we're going to be doing different things for APA depending on what we're doing. So direct quoting is the first way that you might use information. And direct quoting is when you use something word for word for word. So if you're reading something and you want to pull the information from an article, from a website, from a book, and use it in your essay, word for word for word, you're going to be doing direct quoting. It's important to remember that anytime that you direct quote, you need to put quotation marks around it to show that it's not your own words and that you're borrowing these words from elsewhere. If you were looking, let's say, at an article about Siamese cats, you might write something like, according to Smith, which is the author's name, quote, Siamese cats are the smartest cat breed in the world, unquote. The stuff in the brackets we'll talk about in a few minutes. This is your APA stuff, okay? So again, direct quoting is when you're borrowing, okay, from an external source and you're using it exactly word for word as you see it. We don't do this that often when we're writing. So I would say when you're writing a research paper, you normally want to aim for fewer than 10% of your sentences being direct quote. But every so often, an author states something in such a unique way that you really would have difficulty putting it into your own words. That's when you want to use a direct quote. Okay, so you don't want to write something where it's just like cut and paste, cut and paste, cut and paste, all sorts of information from external sources. But there are going to be instances where you want to borrow that language directly. That's a direct quote. Paraphrasing is what you're going to be doing more of. So paraphrasing is when you use an idea or a concept from a research source, you use the information, but you put it in your own words. So if I had read that Siamese cats are the smartest cat breed in the world in a book or an article that I was looking at, I might write, if I were paraphrasing, according to Smith, of all the cats in the world, the Siamese is the most intelligent. What I've done here, excuse me, coughing today. What I've done here is I've taken the idea from the original, but I've restated it or refashioned it in my own words. This is paraphrasing. I still need to use APA when I'm paraphrasing. So even though the sentence is original, I need to make sure that I'm giving credit to the original author of that idea. It's important to notice that when I'm paraphrasing, what I'm doing is I'm keeping the same meaning from the original. So I haven't changed the meaning at all, right? I'm saying exactly the same thing. I'm just using my own words to express it. You're going to be paraphrasing most of the time when you're writing. So I'm going to be saying, about 90% of the time when you're writing an answer for a question or you're writing an essay, you're going to be paraphrasing. So you're going to be pulling material from all sorts of different sources, and you're going to be using that material in your own words, paraphrasing the material that you've looked at. Opinion is the third thing. And opinion is not something that you're asked for super frequently when it comes to healthcare, but every so often you'll be asked to provide your personal opinion on topics. Opinion is when you provide your own personal opinion. So your very own unique thought that is not influenced by a research source. So for example, if I wrote, I believe that my Siamese Bogey is smarter than your dog, that's my personal opinion. I don't have any proof that my cat is smarter than your dog. I haven't done any testing or any kind of studies that prove that. Nobody has researched my cat, Bogey, to be able to assess his intelligence. So I'm making a claim that is my own personal belief. If it's my own personal belief, I'm not going to use APA format, okay, because it's my own opinion. But like I said, in healthcare, excuse me, you're rarely asked to provide your own opinion. Mostly what you're doing is you're pulling information from research sources, paraphrasing it, and including that in your answer. Okay, sorry, I actually paused the recording there just to get something to drink. I'm sorry about the coughing. Very dry throat today. So I have something to drink now, so I should be clear and ready to go. So again, just to go over what we've just talked about, you're going to be direct quoting or paraphrasing when you're using research information, and you're going to be providing your own opinion when you're asked to write something that is directly from your heart or directly from your brain about how you feel about something or what your personal beliefs are. It's important to remember, though, that whenever you are direct quoting or paraphrasing material, you will require an APA in-text citation. We're going to talk about how to do those APA in-text citations in our next video. Okay, so you will learn the exact technique to use when you're direct quoting and the exact technique to use when you're paraphrasing. Before we get there, though, we have to talk about how you're going to integrate information. Okay, so when I'm direct quoting, I can never, ever, ever, ever use a full direct quote as its own sentence. I always need to somehow integrate that direct quote into my own writing. And I'm going to have two choices when I'm doing that integration. I can either use the author's name in my sentence or not. Okay, so take a look at the example here. If I were direct quoting that quote that we used up above, I could do either of the following. So I could say, according to Smith, I can use the author's name, quote, Siamese cats are the smartest cat breed in the world, unquote. Or I can integrate it without using the name. So I might say, according to one cat expert, quote, Siamese cats are the smartest cat breed in the world. Okay, so I can do either one. And again, how I decide to do it is up to me as the writer. So it's going to depend on, the flow of your paragraph, the flow of your sentence, how you want to express that. If I were paraphrasing, I can do the same thing. Okay, so I could either use the author's name in my sentence. I could say, according to Smith, of all the cats in the world, the Siamese is the most intelligent. Or I can opt not to use the author's name And I could say instead, research has shown that of all the cats in the world, the Siamese is the most intelligent. So that's another choice that you're going to need to make. So not only are you going to need to choose whether you're direct quoting or whether you're paraphrasing, you're also, with each sentence, going to need to make a decision about whether you're going to use the author's name in that sentence or not. It can be difficult to think of ways to integrate information. So again, you don't want to repeat the same thing over and over, according to Smith, according to Smith, according to Smith, every single sentence. So you want to vary the verbs that you're using to introduce some information. On the latter half of this handout, I've just put in some verbs that many people use to introduce quotations or to introduce ideas. This is just a partial list. So there's tons of different ways that you can integrate information. But some of these verbs can be useful to consult when you're aiming for variation in your writing. So you can see, for example, argues, writes, points out, concludes, comments, notes, and on and on and on. So try when you're writing to aim for some variation and use some of these various verbs as you're integrating quotations and as you're introducing paraphrases. In our next video, we're going to look at how to do the in-text citations when you're direct quoting or you're paraphrasing.